Let's start with Browns training camp, and I want to start with kind of an issue that really is a carryover from last week, because last week came the news that Perrion Winfrey had been released from the Browns. We all saw the Instagram video. A couple of girls went to the 9. They shouted him out. They called him a name. Next thing you know, there's a video on Instagram of Perrion leaving the 9, tracking one of the women down, allegedly hitting her in the neck and stealing her phones. The police were called. He did leave the phones in an alley for the women to get their phones back. But within minutes of that video hitting, because when she posted it, she posted something to the effect of, "You good with this, Browns?"
Yeah, oh yeah.
Something along those lines. And literally, it was like 160 seconds, and he was no longer a Cleveland Brown. It came at warp speed. Andrew Berry was asked about this as the media has now converged on Greenbrier, West Virginia, which is where the Browns are opening training camp. And Berry was asked pretty straightforwardly, has this episode sort of changed the way you will look at drafting guys that were initially high and slipped because of personal issues? And he actually said no. It isn't going to affect the way he's going to do this. He said that after the arrest in April, he was arrested for, Perrion Winfrey was arrested in April in Texas for domestic violence of a family member. He said he wanted to wait and see if he showed up to camp and was ready to be an NFL player, because he was pretty much told that this is it. You're on your last straw. He didn't even make it to camp. So Barry's approach is no. Burned once, not afraid of it. I'm still going to do the same thing. If I see a player that has a lot of ability but has character flaws and slips, it won't stop him from taking this player again. Should it? Should he change the way he's doing things?
Actually, Andrew Berry I think is doing it the way that pretty much 98% of the teams do it. It's a case-by-case situation. The more talented you are, the more leeway and opportunity you're going to get. That's just the way it is with the NFL. I think the ship has sailed on a lot of the moral standings and moral standing ground that people have. When you're Andrew Berry and he's looking at it like this, no one's going to tell him he did a great job and clap it up for him if they go 1-4 out the gate. If they go 1-4 out the gates, he's going to be going with Stefanski. So no one's going to say, hey, you know what? But his record with players, all his players graduated from college, and you know what? Hey, no arrests, good guys. That don't work, man. I was at a MAC school. We went 1-10. I was at OU. We went 1-10. And when our coach tried to say we had the sportsmanship award, we were notated as one of the best teams about sportsmanship, and we were all buttoned up and had the same link socks. I said we went 1-10. They don't care about that. Eventually, you're going to get fired.
You are what your record says
you are. The record says you are. So when you look at it, he's like, look, I'm going to take it case by case. We'll figure it out when we meet that different specific type player. But to be good in the NFL, even Bill Belichick drafted Aaron Hernandez.
Correct.
Even Bill Belichick took Randy Moss. He brought Ocho Cinco in. He brought, Antonio Brown in.
Yeah.
All those guys. So everybody does it. It's just your reputation about it.
Well, I think first and foremost, it's bad business to cut yourself off from a pool of players that's talented and possibly can help your football team just because they might have some character issues. I'm not a person that believes in second chances. I'm a person that believes in afford somebody as many chances as you feel necessary, right? Because people bump their head once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, the whole 9. It's not something that just because somebody makes a mistake once that they're going to get it right the second time. And so I think anything that any man or woman wants is just an opportunity to prove themselves, an opportunity to rebound from any mistakes they may have made, etc. And if Andrew Berry keeps the open mind to continue to afford people the opportunity to change the narrative or to redeem themselves, then kudos to Andrew Berry, because it shows that he cares more about these people as men and not just players. And so I think that's a huge component to it. When it comes to Perrion Winfrey, Jay, I'm with you. I think after the situation in April, they had a conversation and he let them know, like, listen, any more BS happens between here and training camp, you're gone. This is your opportunity to show me that you really want to do this. And unfortunately, he let the situation get out of hand, and it cost him a spot to even compete for a roster spot on his team. So kudos to Andrew Berry for keeping an open mind to continue to look at guys no matter, what their background is, because you got to award somebody a chance. And I think in his position, the best thing for him to do is just learn from the, how to go about the approach necessarily next time, but still take the chance.
But I want to go back to something you said. You said you're for second, third, fourth chances. So for him, Winfrey, this was chance number 3.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't be for him bringing him back.
No, I wouldn't be for him bringing him back.
So there is, at some point, for you, a cutoff.
It's a cutoff. But,
and Perrion hit it.
Right. But you know how some people say, well, I believe in second chances.
Yeah.
Well, not me. You can bump your head, and this is just my perspective in life, right?
Right.
Not necessarily sports.
Sure.
But you can bump your head 5, 10 times, right?
Right.
If I love you, if I believe in you, if I still have faith that you can overcome, I'm going to give you another chance.
Sure.
And another chance. Now, in sports, yeah, you can only go but so far with that because this is a business. And then you also have to show that attitude is a reflection of leadership.
Right.
You got to worry about the other people in that locker room. And I think it was smart for him to cut him right away because he got cut the same day that the rookies reported.
Right.
And to me, that sent the message to the rookies that this is how we're going to conduct ourselves, that no stuff like this will be tolerated.
Well, no matter what day that this event happened, it was going to be cut. It just so happened to coincide with the days the rookie reported. And I think you're right. It is a message for everybody because as the rookies were picking up their bags and coming into camp, they were hearing that one of their teammates won't be joining them. And that's always a shot across the bow. Whenever anybody gets cut, even though he wasn't a major contributor, and even though there were questions of him making the team anyhow, there were guys that had told me that it didn't look like he was going to project on the 53 anyways.
You know what I knew he was going to get cut is, and this he wasn't even doing nothing wrong with it. When he was off the thing with his domestic violence and he was doing things, and I think it was with a relative that he got in domestic violence. When the thing happened with Greg Newsom with the cars, I was like, who was with him? Perrion Winfrey was with him, and Perrion Winfrey, like, to me, he didn't do anything wrong in that situation, but what that showed me was
He was out.
you outside too
Yeah.
much. You outside. You just got. There's no way that if I'm on paperwork, if I'm on any sort of paperwork, there was no way, or probation, there was no way I'm in the club at 2 or 3. Because guess what? Anything happen, somebody
done.
can say something to me crazy and throw a drink on me. Guess what? The cops pull up and now they got to take a statement from me.
Yeah.
Or I come out the club later, somebody said that I said something. Even they know what you look like. So for me, I said, oh, he don't get it. He
couldn't stay away.
He couldn't stay away.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought that was a very bad sign, even though he was sort of collateral damage in that whole thing and was an innocent bystander. The fact that he's in the club at 3 o'clock in the morning in downtown Cleveland where, there are things going on right now and all the players know it. And the players are going there at their own risk. For me, at this point, if a player is involved in any kind of incident at 2:30 in the morning at a Cleveland club, and I know this is America, we have freedom, we should be able to do what we want, but the fact of the matter is you've got a high-profile job that brings you a lot of money that is at risk. Don't screw it up. And when
your
he
life
was there,
is at risk.
I said, this is the lifetime risk, right? You could be killed.
Yeah.
I just said this guy isn't getting the message. It's not, no matter what kind of trouble he's in. And by the way, and this might be a controversial take. I don't know if we talked about it on the shows last week when this broke because I wasn't here. But if you look at the video and you read the statements and find out exactly what happened, he was played. He got played.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying he's innocent here because he is not.
No.
But there was a trap set for him,
Yep.
and he took the bait. And when they go through the rookie symposium,
Got you.
they are all informed of what's out there.
Got you.
And what certain people are going to try to do to trip you up. And how they're going to try to get their hand in your bag. And he'd heard the message before. It just didn't resonate. And now what's most sad to me is, by all accounts, he's a likable guy. I think his teammates generally like him. I know you guys said the interaction between Perrion and his teammates at the softball game was, it was very clear that they gravitate to him and they like him.
It's not a thing.
Yeah, it was no. Right.
Like it's a fact.
And he's clearly a talented guy. Now, look, at that position, there's a learning curve. There's a lot of guys that come in and have the kind of season he had in his rookie year, and 5 years later, they're on a Pro Bowl team. So I'm not saying that he would have projected out that way, but when he passes the look test, he's long, he's talented, he's got some areas in his game that he had to clean up, but now he's probably going to go down to the UPS office and put in a job application for a driver and probably won't get hired there.
I'll say this, 2 things on this. I was born in the inner city of Cleveland, still live in the inner city of Cleveland. So to your point, you're absolutely right. it's a lot of things that's going on in the inner city of Cleveland right now. It is not the most safe place. And
No.
if I pay attention to how I move, if I got the...
Do you stay away from there?
I stay away from...
Intentionally?
Yeah, intentionally. I know what's going on.
Right.
I know it first. We've had conversations off air.
We have.
I know what's going on. I know what's up. And so, like, you know, if you're going to be out, you need to be a little bit more aware, but it's best that you not, because ain't nothing but trouble going to find you.
And they're targets, too,
Yeah,
Earl.
like,
Those guys are
targets.
moving targets.
If we're targets, they're targets.
Yeah.
But the second part of this, and, you know, we talked about this on the Behind the Glass podcast, and I became very vulnerable. You know, this is a safe space for me. But, you know, I struggle periodically throughout life with my temper and with my anger.
Right.
And it's been something that I've came a long way.
Right.
But I'm still smart enough to know I still got a long way to go. And so
you don't put yourself in situations that could be volatile.
Right. But you talked about the trap was set. And, you know, Mary Kay Cabot reported what the young lady said to him that kind of pissed him off.
Reprehensible what she said to him.
Triggered him. He went chasing after her, et cetera. And I think Mike has said, you know, he couldn't fathom how somebody saying something to you can make you react that way.
Oh, no.
Here's the thing.
There's trigger words for people.
There's a deeper rooted issue with Perrion that might make him feel like, and I don't know him, but it might make him feel like that he always has to be on the defense.
Right.
That he always either physically or verbally feel like he has to protect himself, right?
Sure.
And so for me, my whole narrative has been for him, I don't know about football for him no more, but you're still a young man, and hopefully you live a long life. And unless you learn some emotional stability, emotional integrity, that type of reaction to every time somebody say something or do something is going to land you in jail or dead. And I'm not speaking out of turn. I'm speaking as somebody who struggles with this, right?
Sure.
And understands that, okay, if I continue to conduct myself this way, I'm going to lose a lot more than just my career that I'm
Yeah, you're the one that has everything to lose.
Exactly.
And Perrion was in that situation. You know, there have been a million studies done that show that the male mind isn't fully developed until around 25. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying we give this guy a safety net because of that. Mm-hmm. But I also think that societally, I was a 23-year-old male. I was a 25-year-old male. I've been now a 50-year-old male. I understand the different phases of life. And I can very much tell you that I buy all of those studies that say the male mind isn't fully developed till mid-20s. The part of the brain that's still developing, by the way, is the one that they say measures risk and reward. Mm-hmm. And on paper, if asked, is this a smart thing to do, you would always answer the right thing. No, it's not. So they know it's not, but in the calculation of risk and reward, they're falling short, and they're still entering in that trouble zone. And so because of that, like, I'm not a Father Flanagan by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know if you guys got his contact information when you were at the softball game. I don't know if you have it.
I didn't.
I wouldn't mind having him as a guest on this show. And I know some people might be upset about that because they would say, wait a minute, he's a known domestic abuser. Why would you? He's a human being who's caught up in a trap right now and had a lot of talent, and his life is wrecked. Somebody better be looking out for this young man. Because now he's most vulnerable. He's more vulnerable now than he's ever been at any point in his life.
And that's why I feel for him. See, a lot of times when people do things wrong, a lot of times when people do things to kind of like make other people feel some type of way, they immediately try to dismiss the human. But I was raised on dislike the action, not the person.
Separate the person from the performance.
He's still a person. And like, you know, I understand it. I can relate to him in certain aspects, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, he got it out the trenches, as we say, Jay.
Sure.
Like he had to bust his ass and overcome a lot to get here. And that's how I feel about me sitting in this seat.
Sure.
I had to bust my ass and overcome a lot to get here. And so when you understand that, you have to be mindful of how you move, because how hard you work to get here, it can be gone just like that.
And in his case, now it is.
Yeah, with one wrong decision. And so, like, you know, when things like that happen to other people, I use it as a sign of somebody speaking to me or giving me another example of what not to do.
No, I understand.
And
that
I truly hope, like, you know, he can overcome these personal things that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
Get another opportunity to play football, whether it's in the NFL or another league. But most importantly, man, just do the things necessarily that can have you on this earth for a long time. Before we move on, I had an uncle that lived to 103. And we buried my great aunt, I think she was like 96, 97. At the repast, he told me, the key to getting my age is knowing when to walk away from BS.
Yeah, no, that's very good advice.
As men, we tend to try to always poke our chest out and let it know, like,
Sure.
you know, we ain't to be played with.
Sure.
Sometimes you just got to let them think you can be played with.
Yeah.
So
You're the winner ultimate winner when you walk away from a situation like that. He had nothing to gain and everything to lose, and he took the bait. And now, and the long answer, which I didn't give to the question, and then we'll move on to the second training camp issue. I agree with you. I think Andrew Berry, like most general managers, has to look at this at a case-by-case basis. What was the young man from Georgia, Jalen Carter?
Yes, yeah.
His talent was jumped off the charts.
Crazy.
So every team in the league would have taken a chance on him at number one because he's going to bring the smoke on the field. With Perrion, he had talent. Yes, he was the MVP, it's defensive MVP, I think, of the Senior Bowl. He obviously had talent, but there were questions. But he didn't have so much talent that the team was willing to take him in the first, second, or third round.
Yeah.
So he slipped. And I think it's smart for Andrew Berry to say, look, these are case-by-case situations. You have to meet the young man. You have to talk to the young man. You have to look into his eyes, and you have to make a judgment. Is this, because it could be a career-ending decision for Andrew Berry, if he makes a habit of bringing in troubled guys that don't perform on the field and then still get in trouble, his job is over too.
Yeah.
So it's on the line. Proceed it with caution, but I think it's a case-by-case situation. We want to move to the wide receivers now because